In this video, I would like to discuss about the importance of the Earth system continuing. As you guys are aware, if you are vigilant, there are a lot of concepts that involve the end of Earth, an apocalypse, you could say. We have many movies, many books, many TV shows about the end of Earth. Earth system, like many systems, there is layers to its dimensional appearance. Now, this ties into the multidimensional aspect of ourself, the multifaceted chameleon dragon, I like to say, of our essence, our spectrum of light. For example, my spectrum in this particular energy frequency right now, my aura, you could say, that ties into the energy I am, you could say, downloading or implementing to society, meaning radiating out, is red. And I'll show you a picture of that. Okay, so this is my aura. Fire red with orange in the center for creativity, spontaneity, energy. Energy to basically move mountains. That's what that root chakra is about. So in this vibrational existence, if we were to take a photo of our multidimensional self, it would basically look like a rainbow. And there are auras that kind of look like a rainbow. But what I'm trying to say to you guys is that Earth system, Earth itself, is very much like our aura field, except it's a little bit more complex because it's multidimensional, so there's layers. For example, in this dimensional reality, vibrational existence, today, okay, moving forward, I have this vibration, this implementing to Earth, red. But in another dimensional reality, I could have navy blue, or purple, or yellow, or indigo, a multitude of colors and combinations of colors. So with Earth, and why it is important that we invest our energy and our time in the continuation of this Earth cycle, is because every one of us is coming to a mastery. And it may still take hundreds of years for individuals to master the age of darkness, or the Bronze Age. For me, personally, in my unique energy, I've come to a resolution when it comes to the Dark Ages. So with my unique vibration, my unique radiancy to the planet, is very much involving the new cycle. The system itself is like a cycling. It's a cycling of information. It's a recycling of information for the purpose of creation. As you know, we have the seasons. And all of these seasons provide plant life this opportunity to recycle its energy, to reuse its own energy, because the most powerful thing is the recycling of the energy. Because we are abundant in energy if we know how to properly recycle it. And the plant life very much knows how to do this, because they're just seeming to be always abundant. But us, we are learning how to recycle this energy, particularly in this Aquarian age. Because this Aquarian age marks the transitioning into a new paradigm, a new system to learn from. And this system very much has to do with accessing our multidimensional essences, pulling in these different blueprints of ourself. For example, my blueprint right now, energetically, and probably in this lifetime, is this radiant red energy. That's what I'm working on. And like I said, in another lifetime, it could be indigo, or my aura is just indigo. But the thing is, with the continuation of Earth, it gives a lot of opportunities for people to come to the fullness of that lifetime. Because for a download to be resourceful, it has to be complete. It's like a computer. If the download is even at 99%, it hasn't come to its fullness, it hasn't come to its completion. Therefore, the information in that download, it can't really be accessed because it hasn't come to a resolution. So, with the wisdom gained from the Dark Ages and from the Bronze Ages, it is reaching that 100% download, like a computer. When that 100% download, you're able to access that information. So I feel us as light workers or indigo children, or just beings who have come to a resolution within themselves, conclusion with the Dark Ages and the Bronze Ages, and are very much already participating in the New Age cycle, the new paradigm cycle, because each cycle or each paradigm, it has its own blueprint. It has its own, I don't know the right word to describe it. You could say its own learning experience, really. And I feel with us being here in this transitional kind of era that we're going to experience probably for hundreds of years, and really it's going to really show signs that we're really getting anchored in it when we start to see more of this multidimensional talk in like the general society. And a lot of this is going to be inspired by space. So a lot of this wisdom, like wisdom of science, I mean science of nature, science of animals, it always comes from observation. Even Darwinism is basically born from an observation. So the more we observe space, we're going to find ourselves gaining wisdom, gaining knowledge that's going to be non-traditional, considering the observation of plants or the observation of ocean life, or monkeys or birds. We're going to expand our mind, because we have to expand our mind in order to truly grasp and observe space. Because space is very much like a house of mirrors. It is very vast, but there's a lot of reflection going on. It's like there's a lot of a mirror effect going on because of this multidimensional layer upon layer multi-universe energy. With this multi-universe energy, we would be able to look out into space and literally see a reflection of our own solar system, our own galaxy somewhere out there that would very much represent a different reality of this system here. You could say that's when we get into the dimensions, third, fourth, fifth dimensional, and they're all connected. They all have this mirror effect. They're all kind of mirroring each other, but the thing is, they're mirroring a different aspect of that energy. Because the source, I feel, of our energy frequency, it's very hard to kind of describe this because I can visually see it, but I have no idea how to communicate this, because what I see is a bunch of geometric symbols and shapes, and I don't even know the names of those shapes. But our energy source has like these, I don't know, it's like I'm seeing like rings. So imagine just like a simple circle, but there's these just rings going around it. And with these rings that are spinning and pulsating and moving very much like the earth, The polarities, north and south, they're cycling like the aura from the heart, cycling in and out through this motion. It's all like reflection, like liquid, and looking on a still water and seeing that reflection of a mountain. And I feel like when we connect with space in a deeper, more meaningful, impactful way, we'll begin to discover that it requires us to have an observation that is multidimensional, multifaceted, looking at the sky with eyes that are, you could say, complex, more sophisticated eyes, but it's eyes that are just tapping into these other dimensional realities of Earth. So with the continuation of planet Earth, we have a lot of environmentalism going on, humanitarianism, and it's moving forward. There are a lot of energies on this planet that everyone energetically is a willing participant. I mean, we have forms of resistance, but that resistance is mainly like a motivation, for the energy of change and the energy of environmentalism and humanitarianism to persevere, to pioneer. Because I feel if we didn't have this crisis or this resistance in the form of culture or groups or religion or nations having this form of resistance, not really wanting to participate in environmentalism or humanitarianism, it really is like this duality energy. It provides a balance. So it's polarity, which is about letting go with the flow, an ability to adapt and evolve with that natural evolutionary change of life and Earth. It gives it this energetic boost to continue on. It's kind of like a demand, whenever there's a demand, there's a supplier. That's when it comes in with the balance. A demand, there's going to be a supplier. And right now, with this resistance, it requires this demand for individuals or groups of people to get up, be motivated, be empowered, and to radiate that frequency of health and vitality. It's not even health and vitality, it's just embracing the evolutionary change. And each evolutionary change throughout Earth itself, the time period of Earth, has always required a level of boosting, a level of rocketing. Because with Earth's unique system, we face this energy of getting familiar and getting comfortable with that familiarity. And whenever that happens, it creates this inability to really adapt. Because like a lot of systems or Earth or planets, sometimes the change, the going into the next evolutionary state is a little chaotic. It's a lot. It's an energy that's just it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming presence. And Earth happens to be one of those. When it changes drastically. Drastically. Because it's also corresponding with the life itself on planet Earth. Life and Earth are very much just one with each other. They're co-creating with each other. They're responding and communicating with each other. And life itself on this planet, there's like this energy of acceleration and a desire to accelerate the growth, because it's like the glass ceiling and you're almost there. You almost bust through the glass ceiling. And in order to really bust through, particularly into this more galactic, interwoven communication with other, you could say, other planets, that's the energy we would like to participate on Earth, we have to gain a lot of energy, reserve a lot of energy collectively, not just small geographic region so we can bust through that glass ceiling, which is the mind's capacity, really what it is. It's the brain itself. The heart is the provider of this energy, but your crystal brain is the receptor, kind of like the satellite of your information. Like if you want to download information from your Palladian self or your Arcturian self, your crystal brain is like a satellite and is receiver of any sort of information that you would like to channel into this body. But the heart is very much the grounded earthly sense, taking that information from your crystal brain and translating it in a way where it makes human sense. Okay, yes, we can see a lot of geometric symbols in our third eye and in our head and in our dreams, but the heart really helps us to ground it and to conceptualize in a way that makes sense to our earthly self. Because remember, we have many aspects and facets of ourself. Like, for example, one facet is this red bright aura, and another facet is like an indigo aura. And when I connect with those energies, there is wisdom tied to it, particular wisdom, like a particular book. You know, not one single book is going to have all of the wisdom of the planet. You have individual books, which is like a library, is just a multifaceted experience of life. And each book is that individual facet. You know, and then we put these in categories. He says there's nonfiction and science fiction and fiction and fantasy and all these other categories, children books. So, for example, if I wanted to access particular wisdom, for example, how can I be more clairvoyant? With my crystal brain, I can access, let's say, 6-dimensional Rosa on a different planet, or on Earth, but in a different dimensional reality of Earth, maybe. Because remember, it's not like linear, it's vertical and horizontal energy frequencies of planet Earth, of the timeline. I can connect, and I can receive the download through my brain being the receptor. And I can transform this form, like a chameleon dragon, transform this form to be the embodiment of that, to help me move through a lesson, or move through a challenge, or move through an obstacle, or energetically shift myself to be more in alignment with the talent I would like to activate in this body. Okay. So with the fullness of the download, getting to the 100% of the download, which we do when we come to completion, when we come to a wholeness or a resolution, you could say making peace. Okay, making peace is like you've come to terms and there's this fullness to what it is you're learning. It's like a book. It's very hard to understand a book if it's not finished. I mean, you can read it, but there's going to be you may not be able to get the true education or the true knowledge, or come to the lesson behind the book, or what the book is trying to communicate in the form of a lesson, if the book is not complete. So each lifetime is like a book. You're writing out this book, and you could say you have this climax, which is the big bang in your head, you know, the epiphany, the revelation, and then you have the, you know, the falling action in the book. And then you come to this resolution. And this resolution is making sense, not necessarily making sense in your head intellectually, but coming to this feeling of, okay, this is what I was meant to learn, and you know what, I feel like I did it. It's kind of like horseback riding. You know, you do it, and you do it, and you practice, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, I actually writing and I don't really thinking about it. I'm just kind of doing it naturally and I don't really have fear. I don't feel discomfort. That's the place when you get into this resolution. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to get into that when it comes to this dark age and this bronze age and this resistance and this attachments and this obsession and this relationship clinginess and even this manipulation and trying to control. All of that comes to the dark ages, which is people, even groups, even nations are coming to this resolution. So they can complete the download, so they can complete the story of the book, so then they can move on to writing a new story. And again, these happens in like increments, like periods of time on Earth. Okay, each, you could say, hundreds or thousands of years of Earth is like a particular book. Now we're getting into like a blank energy. Because with the energy and with recycling, with the true recycling, it's like we're taking the elements of Earth itself, or the elements of humanity, or just everything that is complex about humanity and Earthlings. We are basically taking it back to its most organic form, like a blank canvas. And this is what this age of Aquarius is doing. We are taking Earth back to its most organic, back to its like blank canvas as much as possible, because again, we've altered, the environment, of course, we've altered things. So getting it to its like organic in the form of before humanity existed, or before even a single organism existed in the ocean. Yeah, it's not gonna be the same, but it's gonna be a different form of organic. Blank canvas. Because with this blank canvas, we can begin to, like a book, like the first page of a book. You start with a blank page, and on this blank page you write this new story, this new book that involves, you could say, the age of Aquarius and the age after Aquarius and the age after Aquarius that may go on for hundreds of thousands of years. And for sure, all of that is going to have chapters on galactic life or space, because Aquarius is, that energy frequency is very much about this exploration of space, not just space, about time, about dimensions. So us being here, you could say futuristic minded, ahead of the trend minded beings, we are anchoring in the potential of Earth once everybody can, really get on board, meaning come to their resolution, finish up their last book. Finish up their last book. And once collectively everyone is finished up their book on Age of Darkness, Age of Bronze, what did I learn, what were the lessons, and come to a completion of that, of making peace with that, they've had the epiphany, oh, okay, this is what I've learned, okay, I'm done with that, let me move forward. We can collectively begin to construct and build this new paradigm, this new reality. It may not happen in my generation, but you could see there is a lot of geographic regions that have this very futuristic minded buildings, and has this presence that's very much already anchored in that fifth dimensional reality. And what is a fifth dimensional reality? It's just like an octave up from the third dimensional reality. And each octave provides a level of awareness that mainly has to do with your brain capacity. So this fifth dimensional octave, higher than this third dimensional, our brain has this greater capacity to interpret and to understand information, to understand knowledge. So there's been this great emphasis on knowledge, particularly in the form of writing, like with the 1800s, and even before that, but mainly like this 1800s, maybe like 1820s, moving forward with literature has been a very important thing in expanding the knowledge. And that is very much the beginning, like the really beginning. That's not that long ago with this expansion of literature. It's not that long ago with the printing press, not that long ago. So what is that? It was very much the beginning of this, the brain reaching new capacities of knowledge, exploring the many, you could say, the aspects of the brain. And that's what, for example, science fiction or nonfiction or fantasy or children books, all of that, scientific books, books on astronomy, books on biology, all of that is helped us to explore the different parts of our brain. Because, for example, science fiction is we're going to acquire more imagination that may be connected to the parts of the brain that involves emotion. While, for example, biology, or scientific on astronomy may require you to access a portion of the brain that is more of this intellectual, taking that knowledge and, like kind of viewing it as like mathematical equations in your head. So it's helping us to grow, expand particular parts of our brain, because that's the point of having an overall balanced presence, is you have growth in all portions of your brain, not just like one part, like deeply emotional, because we have experienced that in society where we've expanded a particular portion of the brain, for example, like emotion with the age of Pisces, emotional response, emotional reaction, emotional this, emotional that, impulsive emotion, and we've grown that. And there's periods of like Atlantis and Lemuria where we've experienced this expansion of the totality of the brain. And that is when we are accessing our more balanced human self, making decisions that's from a more balanced, it's a balance is just like multidimensional, because when your brain is balanced where different parts of your brains are being grown, I feel like you're connecting with this multidimensional energy. Because each aspect of your crystal brain has this energy that is very much like, we have lots of crystals, a lot of different crystals, rose quartz crystals, amethyst crystals, and that's very much like your brain. It's like all the crystals and all the, we have variety of crystals and variety of particular talents that these crystals have to help us work through. And the brain very much has that. It has particular parts that have talents that help us in particular areas, like rose quartz with love and amethyst with psychic abilities. So with this turning of the age and going into the fifth dimensional reality simply is just a meaning that our capacity to access this crystal brain of ours, to make sense of it, to not just have it as a dream or have it just a feeling, but have something that we can actually make or use, or something make tangible. Use it as not just an energy, but take that energy and make it, you could say, something tangible, something grounding it in the form of earthly, making it earthly sense. Because yes, we're very wise, but the thing is, everyone is wise. It's just anchoring it down and making sense of it through the earthly body is the challenge. Is a challenge for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't have the tools or know how to anchor that wisdom that's all around and pull it into the physical vessel and literally manifest that. But this is what this fifth dimension. It's not just going to be like little whispering the winds of wisdom and, our capability for building cities made of crystal or making spaceships that look like spinning discs like aliens. It's not just going to be like, a floating idea, with a brain opening up. through this fifth dimensional reality, through the expansion that the Age of Aquarius really much promotes, because Age of Aquarius is non-traditional methods, non-traditional, non-conventional. It's like, whoa, open up. That brain is opened up, and therefore we have this higher level of being able to interpret that information that's in our mind. You know? It's kind of like you have a third grader, you know, you could say making a interpretation of a Picasso painting, and a fifth grader. They're going to be different. And the fifth grader, through the experience, through the earthly experience, will most likely have more vocabulary, more of a mental capacity to interpret the meaning behind that Picasso painting in a way that makes more impactful, more meaningful, makes more sense than like a third grader, because of the difference of vocabulary and the expansion of the brain. So with the expansion of the brain, we'll be able to look at geometric symbols and shapes and these mathematical equations and numbers with other numbers. And with our brain expanding, we'll be able to interpret that and make sense of it. Not just look at it and get a feeling and be like, oh, I don't know, I have a feeling, I have no clue what that feeling is. How do I describe that feeling? I have no clue. Because that's our thing. Even with space, we have all of this dreams, ideas, concepts, and theories, but our brain is kind of like frying. We're like, I can imagine scientists, you know, and NASA are sitting at a desk and their brain is literally frying because they're so close. They're so close to this mathematical equation that could solve an issue, but they just can't get it. They just can't get there. You know, they can't get there. It's because the brain capacity needs to open up. Once it opens up, it evolves like a fifth dimensional reality, then you see the mathematical equation and you'll be able to translate it. That's what we're doing. We're translating energy into a human sense. A human, where it makes sense, in the earthly form. Because like geometric symbols, they fluctuate and they transform depending on the vibrational reality that it is kind of hopping into. For example, a deeply complex 12th dimensional geometric shape, very complex, like a mandala, visualize a mandala, it may transform itself when hopping into the third dimensional reality where it's not as complex, it's not as, I guess the word is complex. It becomes more simple, more basic, because what's the point of these geometric symbols hopping into these different dimensional realities if the biology in that particular reality can't understand it, because their mind is not able to, their brain is not able to. But we have experienced that throughout the ages, where these really advanced gurus or yogis and individuals that have had dreams of advanced mathematics. I mean, most of the scientists, like Tesla, you know, Tesla's was like, woo, bombarded with all of these ideas and visions of just inventions. But the thing is, that energy, that advanced energy just kind of hopping into, you could say, this octave that's a little lower than that, you know, maybe 12th dimensional knowledge or 5th dimensional knowledge, you notice that it is brought to the mind. It's not necessarily their brain is at that level of being able to truly interpret it, but there is this openness to the mind, this adaptability. And that adaptability to the brain has allowed these, you could say, you could say ahead of the trend, scientific minds, geniuses, to come about. Because geniuses is just taking that energy, because we all can be geniuses. We all are geniuses. It's just that mathematical equation, that wisdom, a lot of us are accessing it all the time. It's just most of us don't know how does that correlate to this earthly sense? How do we translate into this earthly sense? And Tesla, for example, he knew how. He had the vision of like a really advanced invention, and he knew how to bridge that into an earthly manifestation. Even if he didn't create it, he knew how to make the blueprint for it. He knew how to make logical sense for the next generation to possibly work with his layout to maybe build it. But the thing is, we're getting that on a mass scale right now. You could say this genius, this unorthodox, non-conventional mind, because most of these scientific geniuses, what they really all had in common was this non-conventional, unorthodox way at approaching things. And mathematicians, even scientists, inventors, non-conventional, unorthodox way at approaching things. And we, you say, as a community, as a society, collectively, are getting into that energy, because the Aquarius energy, that's what it's all about. Non-convention, originality, unorthodox. So the earth is extremely precious. The earth is extremely precious because this has been a process. It's been a process, and it may seem as a long process. And when we look at it as like a chronological time, like linear time, we see it as millions of years. But the thing is, we've worked with all of these particular aspects of the biology and biology in relation to other biology, and working with the earth and coming into harmony with the earth, balancing out the biology with the earth. I mean, that's what we've been experiencing for really a long time. But now we're getting into another energy, which is the energy of learning how to balance the crystal brain with the advanced knowledge of the cosmos. And that's another thing. That's taking on another form of what we've been doing for the last thousands or millions of years. We've learned how to balance with the planet. I mean, we're still learning it, because we have to be balanced with the earth, but now we're learning to how can we be balanced with the cosmos, with foreign energies, energies that transcend this world. How can we anchor that? It's like, how does humanity find its place in earth? Just like any organism, they're simply trying to find their place in earth. Trying to find, getting in the groove of surviving, and not just surviving one generation, but generation after generation. We've kind of mastered that as humans. But now we're mastering how to anchor, how to find our place as humans, with our biology, in this advanced knowledge, wisdom, like interstellar, interdimensional insight. But we still have to be connected with Earth, because we can't be all just floating out in the interstellar space and, the wisdom, and our feet are off the ground. No, that's not how we're going to be able to get it to last generations. The insight on how to anchor the knowledge in the physical form, in the mind, to write it down, to communicate it, to actually invent it, make it into a manifestation. That won't be able to last generation after generation if we're just we're in La La Land and have no way of understanding what we're seeing. So I think I'm going to end this video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it very informative and insightful. Okay, bye.